He walked out on a cold Tuesday morning. No explanation, no apology. Just a slammed door and the echo of his footsteps fading into a world that no longer included us. 3 children stood behind me, confused, scared, waiting for a father who never even looked back. I thought that was the day everything ended, but it was only the beginning of the life I built without him. The morning he left was unremarkable in every way, which is why his departure struck me like lightning out of a clear sky. The kettle whistled softly on the stove, sunlight slipped lazily through the thin curtains, and the children were still rubbing sleep from their eyes as I plated their breakfast. Then Armin walked in, not with his usual tired shuffle, not with the familiar weight of routine, but with a cold detachment that drained the warmth from the air. His eyes didn't meet mine. His steps were too calculated, and his voice was disturbingly steady when he said, "I'm leaving." For a moment, I thought he meant for work, so I almost asked whether he wanted tea. But then I saw the packed bag by his feet and the rigid set of his shoulders, and the truth crashed into me before his words finished forming. My confusion barely had time to bloom before the children wandered into the kitchen, asking innocent questions. "Daddy, where are you going? Will you bring ice cream? Why do you have a big bag?" He didn't kneel to answer, didn't touch their heads, didn't even look at them properly. He simply repeated, "It's better this way," and walked out of the door. The slam reverberated through the house, like a crack in the walls, in the floor, in my ribs. My legs gave way, and I dropped to the ground, covering my face as silent sobs slowly turned into shaking. My children wrapped their tiny arms around me, crying because they didn't understand. In that moment, something inside me shattered. But something else quietly began to form. Fragile, yet determined. People talk about heartbreak as if it's purely emotional, but they don't warn you about the practical avalanche that follows abandonment. Bills don't pause. Rent doesn't wait. Children don't stop needing comfort, food, and broken pieces of truth softened with lies. The first few weeks blurred into sleepless nights and exhausting days. I woke before dawn to prepare school lunches, help with homework, and make sure my children felt secure even when I didn't. Every night, after putting them to bed, I cleaned houses or typed data for companies that barely knew my name. Neighbors whispered behind curtains. Relatives pretended to be supportive while shaking their heads in private. Their judgments were sharp. Maybe she didn't keep him happy. A woman alone cannot raise children properly. But I endured it silently, because arguing wouldn't pay bills. My breaking point arrived quietly one night. It was past midnight, and the house was cold because the gas bill had been overdue for a week. The children were asleep, bundled together for warmth. I sat on the sofa, too exhausted to stand, when a rent notice slid under the door. The final warning. The words glared up at me like a verdict. My eyes burned as tears spilled freely, my shoulders shaking as the weight of everything finally crushed the facade of strength I had been performing. I cried until my breath trembled. Then, through blurred vision, I saw a small drawing taped to the wall. A stick figure woman with a cape, drawn by my youngest, labeled, "Mama is a superhero." I stared at it until my heartbeat steadied. Superheroes don't quit. They rise. I wiped my tears, opened my laptop, and searched for more jobs. That night became the shift in my story. 2 months later, I secured a receptionist job at a corporate office. It was strict, fast-paced, and intimidating, but I learned quickly. I arrived early, stayed late, and absorbed everything like a sponge. My supervisor noticed my dedication and pushed me to take on more responsibility, Within a year, I was promoted. Within 2 years, I was managing a small team. The same relatives who once pitied me now bragged about me as if they hadn't doubted me. Their admiration meant nothing, but it reminded me how far I had come. My children grew alongside me. My eldest, wise beyond his age, took a part-time job at 16 to help with groceries. My middle child poured her emotions into artwork and began winning competitions. My youngest excelled in school, eager to show me his drawings every afternoon. Our home was small, the furniture old, and we still ate dinner on the floor because I couldn't afford a dining table. But we laughed every night. We healed together in ways that felt quiet, steady, and sacred. Armin's absence no longer felt like a wound, just a faded scar. 7 years passed without a single message or rupee from him. Then one evening, I heard a knock. When I opened the door, I froze. Armin stood there. Older, weaker, worn down by life. His face was tired, his eyes hollow. He said, "Assalamu alaikum, Amina." I didn't answer. He asked if he could come inside, but I stepped out and closed the door gently behind me. He explained that his second marriage had collapsed, his business had failed, and he had nowhere else to go. "I want my family back," he whispered. The word family tasted bitter on my tongue. My children watched from inside, silent and unmoved. He pleaded, insisted that he was still my husband. But I looked at him calmly and said, "You're a stranger. The day you walked away, you divorced us with your actions." His eyes glistened with regret. He begged to be allowed inside, to stay, to belong again. I realized then that I felt nothing. Not anger, not longing, not sadness. Just a quiet peace. "Armin," I said softly, "you left this home once. I am simply returning the favor." Then I stepped back and closed the door, not in rage, but in closure. He never returned. That night, my children hugged me tightly. My eldest said, "Mama, we never needed him. We needed you." Their words wrapped around me like a warm blanket, comforting and affirming. I finally understood that the life we had built, the laughter, the stability, the strength, was ours alone. Today, I stand stronger than ever. I manage an entire department. My children are thriving, independent, and compassionate. Our home is filled with warmth, books, art, and peace. People say a man leaving his family breaks them. But in truth, Armin didn't break me. His absence carved space for the woman I was destined to become. He didn't ruin my life. He started the chapter where I rose. If he ever wonders what happened to the woman he abandoned, the answer is simple. She became unstoppable.